Paul Salmon has the story of good deeds.
Now, this holiday story may seem like something of a stretch, so please cut us a little Yuletide slack as we try to make the connection between the spirit of the season and a business convention in New York earlier this fall. To anti-business activists, it might have seemed like a gathering of the usual suspects, from British American Tobacco to Calorie King McDonald's, from Nike of the third world wages and pricey sneakers to Microsoft, the alleged monopolist. In fact, though, this was business for social responsibility, the annual get-together of corporate do-gooders with whom every firm might like to frolic.
Our founder, Ray Kroc, believed very strongly in giving back to the community and in being a responsible business, and that stayed with the company all through its life.
Now, skeptics might claim the term Kroc is appropriate here, given the health issues raised by McDonald's, especially its supersized fare. But the chain has now forsworn supersizing and has, for example, been a pioneer in recycling for decades.
In the 1990s, McDonald's spent over $3 billion on recycled products, recyclables that may have come directly from your own household bin.
And while Microsoft and Bill Gates have long been targeted by anti-business activists as symbols of wealth and monopoly, this footage has circulated widely on the internet for years, Gates has cleaned up his image by becoming the world's foremost philanthropist. Microsoft is pushing itself on social responsibility in other ways as well.
Issues around employee benefits, how do we treat our employees, do we provide a pleasing work environment for employees, are we a diverse workforce?
Isn't it fair to say the company was often quite heavy-handed in dealing with competition?
And we learn. I think every company learns from the good and the bad of history.
One thing Microsoft learned was that you can get punished for doing bad. But more important, and the key to this holiday story, is the idea that any company can benefit by acting responsibly. To echo the cliche,
Microsoft does well by doing good.
Consider a more modest operation, the Grayston Bakery of Yonkers, New York, staffed by workers, many of whom are hired straight out of prison, like the former crack cocaine dealer, now a Grayston supervisor, Charles Marion DeVorce.
You can walk right off the street, off a park bench, and fill out an application, they'll hire you. And now, when they hire you, it's up to you to prove yourself.
So it's something about the place that keeps people here.
You know what they should call this? Grayston Bakery Open Arms, because they open their arms to you.
Now, this is no charity. Grayston is a multi-million-dollar gourmet operation. It's organic desserts served at the White House, at Lincoln Center, at top restaurants. Still, says CEO Julius Walls,
we'd like to give an opportunity to anyone who wants an opportunity.
18 months ago, opportunity knocked for William Shepard, who at age 44 was working odd jobs and getting high.
And I realized that after a while that that's not the way I want to live.
So he called Julius Walls.
I told him, I said, listen, I need a job so I can move on. He says, wait right there, I'll call you back. It's so a little emotional now because I said I was nowhere, you know.
When you say you were nowhere, you mean?
I had nothing, just me.
Substance abusing?
Yeah, substance abusing. I was drinking, smoking weed, just doing anything. Nothing mattered, nothing came out 2 and 2.
I try real hard to create an atmosphere where we're not judging whether someone's good or bad at all. They're good people. Whether or not they can perform the job or not is a different conversation. And so when I look at Will, I see a good man who wants to work.
But stop for a moment and think like an economist. How can any firm afford to be such a good guy? More moral than its competitors. Economist Robert Frank.
If your rivals aren't doing that, then their costs are lower than yours, they can sell for less than you, and then how do you maintain your market share in competition with those firms? That's been the big puzzle all along. We know there are firms who do go beyond what the law requires, and they seem to be surviving, and it seems that there are multiple advantages that might be compensating for the extra costs they're incurring.
Extra costs like training ex-cons with no work experience, for example, using more expensive organic ingredients. Frank has written a book, What Price the Moral High Ground, to show why you do well by doing good. Because, for example, customers like good guys. and are willing to reward them with, among other things, higher prices. For Grayston's Cupcakes, or say, clothes by Eileen Fisher.
This is like a classic kimono-like shape because it's like, you know, cashmere. This is one of our most expensive pieces, but it's $350, which is not so much for the weight of cashmere and the kind of thing that it is.
The Eileen Fisher Company has promoted a code of good labor practices at home and abroad that many consider the best in the industry. Shares 10% of its profits with employees and gives another 5% to causes like healthcare for the poor, school violence prevention, women's self-esteem. Any other good works, we asked the boss?
Oh, this is a little example. I don't know if it's social consciousness, but it's about honesty. In the very early days, we would hire salespeople who were not salespeople. I didn't want to hire people who had ever sold before because I felt that I didn't want anything pushed on people. I didn't want people sold anything.
20 years later, she still seems the anti-retailer.
We've called customers and said, we think you're spending too much. You know, maybe we could help you make decisions so that you don't buy too much.
Well, how do customers respond to that?
They're like, dedicated forever. You know, they're like, oh my God, these people care about me.
And when someone cares about you, and you are, say, the Hewlett-Packard rep across the aisle from Eileen Fisher's booth at the convention, you care right back.
You patronize Eileen Fisher because you know that they're a do-good company.
You know, price doesn't factor in so much. I make my choices based on the company's reputation and the quality.
And this is, let's just prove it to people if you wouldn't mind here. This is indeed Eileen Fisher.
Contrary to what economic theory predicts, customers are often willing to bear a higher price when they believe the firm is behaving in a socially responsible way.
This isn't limitless, of course. People aren't willing to pay any price.
No, it's not that you pay any price, but socially responsible practices don't triple your costs or quadruple them. They're often just a small increment in cost.
And so customers have to pay you only a little bit more to support your ethics. So that's one advantage to being a moral business. And here's another, according to Bob Frank. Your workers will support your ethics too, by working for less. Like these women from Feed the Children, a global relief organization. Melinda Vassalaro used to work for a drug company.
What was your total compensation package compared to this one?
About 4 times. Bonuses, things like that. Three to 4 times.
Phil Story had just taken a 33% pay cut from his corporate communications job to join Green at Work, an environmental magazine.
It's about quality of life and my sense of who I am and what my job is to me.
So then he's just the kind of person you're talking to?
Yeah, Phil's an example just like the examples we see in law. For example, the public interest lawyers who graduated from Harvard and Yale at the top of their class earn about 1/3 as they would earn if they worked for a private firm. And if you can attract better people than you can normally get for the same wage, then that's a good advantage for a firm.
And how about Julius Walls, CEO of Grayston Bakery? Could he do better financially?
Are there opportunities out there that might pay more? Yes. Yes. But I don't make my decisions simply on that basis.
In fact, Walls reports to a boss of his own, head of the organization that owns the bakery. The boss was listening off camera.
This is your boss over there, right?
You're not doing this on camera.
We certainly are. So this is a perfect, just an honest answer.
I'm sure he could make more money than he's making here.
Half
10, 20%, maybe half. I'm less familiar with, but certainly could make more if that's what he wanted to do.
Now, to be fair, not all socially responsible organizations pay less. Eileen Fisher pays at least the going rate and provides benefits other companies don't, like on-site yoga and massage on company time. But even here, doing good by the workers seems to translate into doing well for the company. We asked Erica Blumenthal, who runs and uses the Employee Wellness Program, how the program helps Eileen Fisher.
I think because the company kind of is aligned and supports the things that I care about, and I'm also able to engage in that, I give a lot more to the company.
You're also able to give more, says Chief Culture Officer Susan Shore, a former business school professor, if your muscles are relaxed, your mind is focused.
If we can have people feeling better about themselves, then the quality of the time people engage in work we believe to be higher.
So loyal employees who work better, devoted customers who spend more, plus trusting vendors, lenders, and shareholders all help offset the extra costs of being socially responsible. Maybe even make it into a competitive edge. Grayston Bakery's first big account was Ben & Jerry's, a famous do-gooder itself, which buys more than 2 million pounds of Grayston brownies a year for its various ice creams. Now there's interest from Häagen-Dazs, owned by Nestle, a target of social activists in the past. Being perceived as not doing good, in other words, could conceivably make a company try harder to catch up ethically. Like Philip Morris Tobacco, which bought Kraft Foods, changed its name to Altria, now makes all-life sustainable coffee from the rainforest. And that leads to the happiest hope of all. Companies trying to outdo one another for the title of most moral company anywhere.
In order to be seen as socially responsible, you've got to go beyond the standard socially responsible practices. So here's one case where we may see, instead of a race to the bottom, the usual problem, here we might see actually a race to the top.
Race to the top. That's good. I love that. Yeah.
She loves it because, to Eileen Fisher, the more goodness in the world, the merrier. But wait a minute. Doesn't a race to the top wipe out the original do-gooder's competitive advantage? We put that question to Eileen Fisher's Director of Social Accountability, Amy Hall.
We do what we do because we really believe in it. If all of the other companies started doing more of this, it would just improve the overall climate in which we all produce our clothes, but I don't think it would change our sales figures in the long run.
I hear her saying if everybody does it, that's fine by Eileen Fisher, because what she really cares about is to see the world go in a certain direction. If she loses an edge because of that, that's, you know, she can afford it.
But that it's better for her to feel that fervently, because that really
makes her really have an edge.
In other words, the edge is that Eileen Fisher's desire to do good is heartfelt, genuine.
Could a huge clothing manufacturer come into the market pretending to be what you are? Could they fake it?
I don't think so. I think it would be pretty hard to fake.
Which brings us back to the moral of this holiday story. That in business you can do well by doing good, so long as you don't try to fake it. After all, isn't that what Christmas, Hanukkah, and the rest are supposed to be about? Giving because you want to, not to get something in return.